To order at 7:01 p.m. This is the Monday, April 19th meeting of the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission. So we'll start with roll call. Commissioner Buttleman. He's muted, but he's here. He's waving. Commissioner Dozer.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Palzer here. Commissioner Redmond.
Here.
And then we know the Commissioner Toddy is not able to join us this evening. So that brings us to the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there the motion has been made by Commissioner Miller? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Buttleman. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty, agenda passed. And then let's take a look at the approval of minutes. We last met February 23rd. So those are the meeting minutes that we're approving tonight. We did not have a meeting in March. Were there any corrections or additions that commissioners saw to the meeting minutes from the February 23rd meeting? All right, if there's no additions or corrections, is there a motion to approve the February 23rd, 2021 meeting minutes as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 23rd meeting minutes as submitted.
Excellent. Motion has been made by Commissioner Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Redmond. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And then it looks like, so Commissioner Buttleman was absent that meeting, so I believe you'll need to abstain from the vote on that one. But otherwise, we have ayes all for that. And that takes us to agenda item number 5A, new business, tennis sanitation recycling collection annual review.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. So tonight we do have a special guest from tennis. We have Angela Heyman here with us wearing her orange related tennis colors. I'd like to see that. Thanks, Angela, for being here. And so I have a short presentation for you, and then we can pause for questions to Angela. So let me get this set up here. All right. And just to confirm, you can see that presentation, correct? All right, thank you. So tonight we will be discussing the recycling collection annual review. Okay, sorry. So Tennis Sanitation is Maplewood's residential recycling contractor, and they have been our contractor since 2011. The current contract is a 5.5-year contract, which began from January 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2025. So we're in year 2 of that contract. The contract does require an annual review, which is what we are doing here tonight. And with that, we will be looking at the recycling report, which goes into detail on the amount of materials collected in 2020, households, etc., as well as the recycling work plan, which discusses some improvements that we think we can make in 2021 with our residential recycling program. So a recap of the 2020 annual report details our multifamily recycling education that Tennis Sanitation does yearly. They send out a letter to our multifamily homes indicating the tonnages that they collected from those developments and additional ways in which they can recycle. Customer service satisfaction goes into detail about Tennis's on-site St. Paul Park customer service and compliments they've received, comments they've received from our community members. Collection of linens and shoes. Tennis sanitation subcontracts with simple recycling for the collection of linen and shoes. It's an easy process. Residents, all they have to do is place their usable linens and shoes in a plastic bag and mark it as linens, or contact Tennis directly to get these red recycling linen bags. They'll be delivered to their home, and then you can use those. Place the linens right on top of the cart, and they'll be collected for recycling. City facility recycling program. So Tennis has been collecting recycling from the city facilities since our last contract, actually, and that continued on with our new contract. They also collect recycling within our parks and do our special events when we can hold those again. As an example, our 4th of July event. Promotion of small business and church recycling. In the contract, it allows small businesses and churches to opt into the city's recycling program at the same rate as residential. So it's a very good deal. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think it's about 22 small businesses in the church that have currently opted into our program. Recycling composite study. This is a study that Tennis does yearly. They'll take materials from one of our collection routes, and they'll spend a couple hours putting that into different items, such as all the aluminum cans go here, all of the cardboard goes here. And a fun fact, I helped this year with the composite study, and we have a great video which I wanted to show you, but I didn't have time to download that, and I probably would have messed it up via Zoom anyway. But I'm going to send that to you, and I know that they're going to be playing that for Earth Week here on our City of Maplewood account. So look for that. It's kind of fun. How we spent a couple hours, all of us, Tennis as well as myself, sorting through all those items and kind of going into detail on some of the items that really you shouldn't find in a recycling cart, and some tips on disposing of those items. Market data. The report discusses where our materials are being placed once they're recycled. Kind of goes into details on some of the challenges and things that we need to be concerned about there. Residual comparison, and that is, again, those items that really shouldn't be in the recycling cart, that should really be in the trash. Truck weights, recycling service fee, storage of extra recycling material, which is basically if there is not a market for a certain material and they have to store it for a certain amount of time, they let us know that. And then the educational tags, their report goes into detail on the tags that they left throughout the year. So it kind of gives us an indication of where we can improve upon our recycling education. In the report, it does detail a lot of recycling data. So we've summed it into this one table, which talks about the average pounds of recycling collected per month for single family and for our multifamily homes. And you can see this comparison from 2019 to 2020. And you can see that those rates have increased, likely due to the fact that we had the COVID shutdowns and many people were at home, of course, doing more recycling. But there is an increase in that. And of course, we do like to see an increase in recycling. And then that converts to the annual net tons of recycling collected, and you can see the increase there. And then an interesting kind of comparison is the business and church, which, of course, during the COVID shutdowns, most of those were shut down as well. So you see that decrease in tonnage there. For the 2021 recycling work plan, I put this together and was hoping for comment and feedback from our environmental commission and comment from tennis as well. They've had a chance to look at this, but it's in draft form. So we want to make sure we get your comments to make sure that we're suggesting improvements, that are feasible and that we can accomplish within the year. And so a couple of things that I was proposing in that work plan is a household count audit. So I think this will be pretty easy. For your information, the city of Maplewood taxed the recycling fee onto residential water bills. And then tennis sanitation bills the city for the overall households. And then we pay tennis through the funds we've collected from the water bills. So of course we want to make sure that those numbers add up so that the tennis is being paid correctly. And of course the city isn't overpaying or underpaying. So this last winter, I guess it was January, when we were creating the solid waste guide, which is an educational piece that we put out to all our residents. I work with tennis and Republic Services on this, and it includes, of course, all the services that we offer through our recycling and trash programs. But we did kind of a detailed analysis of all of the households, which we have a pretty good idea on the single family homes because, of course, Republic Services does billing for single family homes, and we have a good idea there. But on the multifamily counts, including our townhomes and manufactured homes, that took a little bit of looking into. So I think this household count should be fairly simple and something that we should probably look at yearly just to make sure our counts are up to date. The recycling cart audit. So for your information, tennis does supply the recycling carts for the city's program. And when they initially did this back in, off the top of my head, 2005, they, as an agreement with the city, they rolled out 65-gallon carts to all single-family homes and 35-gallon recycling carts to all townhomes and manufactured homes. But since that time, they now offer, as part of the contract, residents to opt into either a 95, a 65, or a 35. So you have that flexibility. And I'm not sure that we've tracked too closely, the changes over the years. But I think this would be something important, especially as we move forward with our pay-as-you-throw methodology with our trash program. So seeing more variation in our trash cart sizes, higher prices for the larger carts, we then would hope to see a swing to larger recycling carts in our recycling program. So we, of course, encouraging people to decrease the size of their trash carts and encouraging people to increase the size of their recycling carts. Participation audit. We haven't done this in a while. We used to do some fun things like get caught recycling. We would once a month we would go out and identify someone who was participating a lot in the recycling program over the month, and then we would spotlight them and we'd give it a $50 gift card, something like that. So a participation audit, and maybe there's some creative ways to do this, but just a suggestion for tennis to do this kind of audit of reviewing as you drive along what carts are out. And I know that tennis does this to a degree, but this would be more of an audit that then would come to our environmental commission for an update. And then education to reduce residuals. We have seen over the year, and this again is likely due to more residents being home during the shutdowns, but we've seen an increase of 131 tons of residual over this last year. So that means that more people are putting more items that really should be in the trash in our recycling carts. And of course, that's never good as it contaminates the loads and so forth. So coming up with some way to educate our residents on what should be and should not be in a recycling cart. And when you see this video on our on the composite study, that's kind of an educational piece too, so that'll be beneficial. And finally, multifamily and business recycling improvements. During this new contract, Tennis is now offering recycling dumpsters for multifamily and business owners. So we have done some outreach on that, and we do have maybe one or two, Angela could correct me if I'm wrong here, but that have converted now to recycling collection of dumpsters rather than carts. And, you know, for some of those larger developments, we think that this will really improve upon the recycling program. So with that, I have covered kind of a recap of the recycling annual report and the work plan. And I'll open it up to questions, and then we can, actually, maybe we could just hear from Angela Heyman and hear from the commission on some questions. So thank you for your attention. And I'll stop sharing here in one moment. There we go.
Good evening. So just open up for any questions that you guys may have. And then with Sean, with the multifamilies, it is 2 facilities that we have switched over to dumpsters. And we have visited a couple others, and we're working closely with them to help get them with Ramsey County for the enclosure improvements, because those 2 locations aren't currently set up for the ability for a dumpster because of their enclosures. So we're kind of working through with that. And those 2 locations, we are actually kind of flexing on what we normally do, and we are picking them up twice a week right now just to help alleviate some of the issues that they're having in their enclosure areas until they can get their enclosures set up properly for a dumpster that is going to be better to suit their needs. So open up for any questions or.
And Madam Chair, I'll interject there. So Ramsey County offers grants now to multifamily properties to help begin or improve upon their recycling programs. And so when Tennis goes out to meet with the multifamily developments, the ones that have requested to opt into, you know, the recycling dumpster, they'll also go into the details on the grant program. So it's a great way to, again, educate the multifamily owners that opportunity is out there. So it's working well in that regard. Oh, and the twice a week, that's awesome. There are some properties that are having some challenges. So we'd like to see that Tennis is helping us with those kind of more challenging properties. So thank you, Angela.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the information about the county helping out with that as well. That's a great program. The county definitely is a good partner with everything that we've looked at, both for the trash and recycling. They help with the contract review and getting everything set up with that, and some recommendations. And I know that they have a variety of grant programs that have helped some of our environmental initiatives, many of our environmental initiatives in the past. So that's good to know. So yeah, let's go ahead and open it up for questions or comments on either the report or maybe we're not quite ready to dive into the work plan quite. Well, I guess we're talking about both kind of as one and the same. So I think anything's fair game then from here. So commissioners, any questions or comments that you'd like to add about the Tennis report and work plan? guess kind of a comment from my end. I was really not sure what to expect. I mean, 2020 was such an anomaly in like every sense of the word. So was kind of curious. I knew that, so many people were at home more, certainly not going out to eat as much, and getting groceries delivered and things like that. I was thinking certainly with the amount of deliveries that have increased, cardboard, I would guess it was probably way up last year as far as Amazon and Target boxes and Walmart box, whatever else was in there. So kind of makes sense as far as the total weight of recyclables increasing. I kind of wasn't sure entirely what to expect, but I wasn't surprised by that. Definitely some good progress on the multifamilies too. That's great. That was something that was a change in our ordinance. Previously, they were exempted from the city contract, and now they're involved. So hopefully we'll see that continue to improve. I think my biggest concern continues to be the residuals. That was something as we were reviewing the contracts and proposals, we know that can really impact what actually ends up getting recycled in the end. So I'm curious, like what folks have seen, or maybe Angela, what you've seen as far as education pieces to cut down on that and the prevalence of the residuals making their way into the recycling.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the education starts with our drivers, where if they do see any contamination, they do leave an orange educational tag. I think there's roughly like 15 different commonly placed items that are actually trash. So the driver can check that, and then there's also an open spot for them to handwrite if there's anything additional that's not on the normal 15. So we do leave that, and then each time that we do leave a tag, we do put it onto a spreadsheet, and then that is part of the year-end report that we provide to the city. So you guys can kind of see the areas that were hurting the most. And really the biggest thing that we see from a lot of our recycling facility or recycling locations is styrofoam. It does have a recycling number on it, but we are not able to take it with our recycling. Just due to the weight of it, there's no markets in the Midwest area to be able to process it and properly bale it and get it to an end market. Not many of the facilities in Minnesota, I'm not even sure if any Minnesota facilities are able to recycle styrofoam.
Madam Chair, that's probably where you see more of that packaging being recycled, yet people aren't taking out that styrofoam component.
Yeah.
And trying to recycle styrofoam, the second you squish it, smash it, it explodes into 1,000 little pieces. So it's impossible. So it's nice to see, although, that the manufacturers and packaging companies are making improvements on the types of packaging material inside, but we still are seeing a lot of that styrofoam.
How about plastic bags? I guess I didn't look down to the detail as far as those go, but I know that's something as well that a lot of people think that they can recycle, but not able to do that.
We still definitely see them coming into the recycling center, but it is decreased a lot because of the education that we've done through like different newsletters, and also putting out that yearly pamphlet with Republic, putting it on there. The other thing that we do see a lot though is recycling being bagged in like normal trash bags. So if you do like have a bin inside your house, it's always best to put like a paper shopping bag in it. Mm-hmm. Or if you do a lot of recycling, like at my house, we do have a plastic bag in the can inside the house just to help keep the can clean. But then when we go out to the recycling bin, we just dump it straight in and leave the bag in the inside recycling bin inside the house. So just keeping those plastic bags out is a big deal. And if you do have additional, just put it into like a cardboard box or a paper shopping bag.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, a lot of people do need that transport from in the house, to the rolling bin. So Yeah, I'm kind of curious what a lot of people use for those. We do have the paper shopping bags that we use to transport and then just set them in the
Yep.
bin. But I would imagine that's quite a temptation for folks to just have, a lined trash bin in their house and then a lined recycling one and just, carry them out the same.
Yep.
So, okay, makes a lot of sense. I think Commissioner Miller, you got.
Yes, I'm sorry. My internet is horrible. And so I missed a part. So I hope I'm not repeating something. I heard styrofoam when I came back in. So our old nemesis there. But I actually, this year I noticed a lot more yard waste and leaves. And I was just thinking, I wonder if it would be a good idea, how, because we have the bins for yard waste and leaves and that stuff as well. If when you leave the educational thing, leave like something with that information, like, hey, you can get a bin for this, something that we could provide or they could provide. Just thoughts.
Yeah, we can definitely work with Sean because Republic Services provides the compost. We just have to work with Sean to kind of be the middleman with Republic to see if we could get some education or some flyers on that we could be able to leave.
Okay, because I know that like we have a whole bunch of new people in our neighborhood over here, and I stopped a couple of them from putting leaves in their recycling and their garbage cans because it was so full, and I'm just like stop. But we had to go back and look up in Republic what it was, and it would be cool if you had that option. Sorry, it's really exciting with good weather. My kids are like, I'm going outside.
Yeah, I've got barking dogs here too, so I can hit mute from time to time. I don't think y'all hear that.
That's a possibility though, to give the little pamphlets of you can
Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with Sean on that and see what we can get together with Republic and see what we can do.
Okay. Is that my imagination or is there a lot more this year of that?
I'd have to specifically look at the report, but it's pretty common across the board.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Madam Chair, for clarification, Commissioner Miller, you're seeing people put yard waste in the trash and the recycling carts?
Yes, it was a new family who just was trying to get it out of their yard. And actually some of my other neighbors went and took them the bags, the yard waste bags, and helped them move it all into that because they're just new. But it just made me think when I was looking through this, there's a lot of yard waste on here and leaves. Can you guys hear my dog?
Singing in the background. Yeah, we can, of course, add something like that on the educational tags for both tennis and public services. I also wanted to comment on the plastic bags that you were referring to earlier. For about a year or so, tennis was collecting plastic bags as part of our recycling program. Tennis is always trying to find new markets for items, and maybe you could just go into this briefly, Angela, but there was a market for plastic bags for a while.
Yeah, so even before I started with tennis, we were able to take plastic bags. And now for about the last 3 years, we have not been able to. And that is because a lot of facilities that used to take them and turn them into petroleum are no longer operating. So there are no facilities in the metro or in the Midwest area that we would be able to ship to and find a market for. So sadly, it is just something that we do need to refer to the retail stores, because a lot of the retail stores that take, like such as Walmart, they take the bags and they actually ship them south to other regions that do have the facilities to be able to recycle them and turn them into petroleum again.
Just thinking about the work plan, the things that Sean had outlined, are those all things that Tennis feels that they would be able to participate in and take on as well. So it was the household count audit, a cart audit, participation audit, residual decrease, like, the educational campaign about that, and then the improvements to the multifamily and business services. You mentioned a few that are already done. So it sounds like you're on board with kind of all those items in the work plan.
Correct. Yep. And we've worked with Sean before with like the cart audits and the count audits and stuff. So, and we, on a daily basis, every day that we pick up in Maplewood, we actually do a participation.
Yep.
So it would just be simply just sharing those reports with the city and just figuring out what the best way for us to manipulate them to best fit and show the right data for Sean to actually make it usable for the purpose of the city is wanting it for.
Okay. Yeah, I recall seeing the participation rates, each year on the report. So that's definitely something that you guys are doing. And that's always has been creeping up over the years. So we'd like to see
absolutely.
That. Seems like almost the audit, could tie into the residual education piece, as the kind of tracking those tags and things like that to kind of see, are there similarities? Are there neighborhoods where, focusing more on the education? Some neighborhoods don't have that issue so much. Maybe multifamily, since they're a little bit newer to the program, have a little bit more of the learning curve with that, just to get to know what can be recycled and what can't. So maybe more so than the participation piece, kind of auditing the residuals too, as you go along with the educational efforts as far as that goes. So. Excellent. Commissioner Miller's got her hand up there.
Sorry. Again, I just wanted to also pass this along. I have a little library out by my house. And so people who know that I'm on this commission will leave little notes for me about like good and bad things. And one of the things from last contract was that we have a lot of very small children. And so they were very worried on trash day because it seemed like the garbage and the recycle trucks were just flying through here. And I just wanted to say thank you, because it's been noticed, like to the point where they've said, hey, we just wanted to let you know that they've been taking their time through our neighborhood. And they even slow down to wave to the kids when they're dumping their stuff. And so I just wanted to thank you for that. I know that you might not know exactly who that is, but I don't know if that was something that was brought to their attention, because it was feeling fairly dangerous. Like kids were not allowed to go outside on trash day in our neighborhood for a while. And I just really appreciate it, because I got some little notes on cards saying just to let us know that they thought that you heard them. So
that's awesome. As Tennis, as a family-owned company, we have always definitely prided ourselves in doing a good job and keeping our neighborhood safe. And I do know that that is definitely something that we addressed with the pandemic, just everybody being home and being more cautious. But one of the other things that we do as well is that we set up our routes. So during the week, we are typically off of the roads by 1-2 o'clock. So then we are away from bus stops and things like that in the afternoon. We do have the morning bus stops, but at least we're out of the area before all the kids come home at the end of the day.
Well, and like this past like this past year, with everybody at home doing school, the kids have been running around the block and stuff on their breaks. And we were all the parent groups were very worried about that, and it actually wasn't an issue at all. So I just wanted to thank you.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have questions or comments to add? If not, we're looking for a motion to recommend the approval of the 2020 recycling collection year-end report and the 2021 recycling collection work plan. And this goes to council next, I believe.
And seconded?
Moved by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Redmond. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Looks like ayes all for that. So that will move forward to City Council from here. So that takes us to agenda item 5B, Republic Services Trash and Yard Waste Collection Annual Review.
Madam Chair, I also wanted to thank Angela Heyman for attending our meeting today. And I also want to point out that Willie Tennis was not able to attend tonight. He wanted to, but he has his own city council meeting to attend. I understand. Is it a secret, Angela, or can I say?
We're just adding a few more buildings to the facility at Tennis, like more parking for the trucks. So all of our trucks stay indoors, so they stay in good condition and they look presentable for being on the streets. And then we're also, in lieu of that as well, we're adding a new wash bay, hopefully, to help keep the trucks clean and looking presentable for the streets. So as of right now, no additions to the recycling center, but we're still pretty brand new with our 2 years ago, we added quite a large extension on the recycling. So mainly just improvements of the shop and keeping our trucks all clean and looking good.
Well, good luck to you tonight and that City St. Paul Park City Council. Hope you get that approval. I'm sure you will. This is a great neighbor. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.
So thank you so much. Now we will move on to our residential trash and yard waste annual review. And here tonight with Republic Services is Beverly Matteason. And Beverly is our new municipal manager for Republic Services. Previously in last year, you may recall Romac Franklin. So Beverly now has been assisting us just over a month, but I'm sure she's all caught up and ready to answer our questions. So thanks for being here, Beverly. And with the recycling annual review, I have a short presentation that'll kind of update you, and then we can hear from Beverly and take some questions. Get this set up here. All right. So I always like to ask, can you see this on your screen? All right, thank you. Republic Services is Maplewood's residential trash and yard waste contractor. They have been our contractor since 2012 when the city of Maplewood organized its trash hauling. So they took on that first organized trash collection contract. And then a year ago, the city council authorized another contract with Public Services, same as with Tennis for the recycling. This contract is for 5.5 years. It began January 1st of 2020 and will expire on June 30, 2025. The contract does require an annual review, including a trash and yard waste report and trash and yard waste work plan. The report from last year summarizes some of the improvements that Republic Services made to the city's program, including a sustainable cart management plan. And a little background here, the city of Maplewood purchases the carts for the trash program, and Republic Services manages those carts and of course does the billing. And when we first organized our trash hauling, the city purchased 10,000 carts distributed to our residents. And the carts have a 10-year warranty. And at that time, there was a lot going on. Switching from an open hauling system to an organized system was controversial, as you may recall. And the cart management piece kind of took it didn't get as much, I guess, attention as it should have. And we didn't really have a plan for doing the annual purchases of carts. And of course, we were getting reports from Republic Services, as we still do, on the number of carts that we had. But there was a period of time, like 3 years into the original contract, where all of a sudden we needed, hundreds of carts. And so it took us a while to come up with this system where now yearly we are reviewing, and Public Services lets us know twice a year, here's the number of carts that you should be purchasing. Because we thought 10-year warranty, we're good to go for 10 years. No, that's not how it works. You know, once the carts are in disrepair, of course, we have to get new ones from the manufacturer. So Republic Services really worked with us last year, and now we have this great system where we have a better track of the carts that we need to purchase. Rollout of the 95-gallon yard waste carts. In the initial contract, Republic Services was collecting yard waste in 65-gallon carts. And this was kind of an area of concern for some of our residents due to the fact that, of course, there's a lot of large lots in Maplewood. We have a lot of mature trees. There's a lot of leaves to deal with in the fall. And a 65-gallon cart wasn't large enough. But you could, of course, put those extra compostable bags of yard waste out. So with the new contract, we wanted to make sure we accommodated for that additional yard waste and converted to the 95-gallon cart. And of course, many of the residents that had yard waste still had the 65-gallon cart. So we had requested, as per the contract, that Republic Services offer those 95-gallon carts to our residents. So I believe that Beverly has an update for us on that review. But again, we have been advertising that 95-gallon cart to residents. The fall cleanup campaign, unfortunately last year during the 2020 fall cleanup campaign, excuse me, I was on spring cleanup. Yes, so last year Republic Services did work with us again, which they have been doing since the first year of the contract, offering reduced price bulky item collection during the month of October. And in previous contracts, it was 50% reduction. And in this new contract now, it's 20% reduction. But we still get a lot of residents interested in that, saving money that way. And then we also take that month of October to do some education. We spotlighted the event and also brought up ideas for, of course, reducing, reusing, and recycling in our Maplewood seasons. So we kind of use that as an opportunity to educate as well. And then pay as you throw schedule. That was a huge accomplishment last year. It was something that we put in the RFP, hoping for a pay schedule, rate schedule from the haulers that submitted proposals that had, more variation in the pricing for the cart sizes. So instead of just $1 between each size, you might see, now a 35-gallon compared to a 95-gallon, it's more like $5. So that would encourage a resident to, reduce the size of their cart. But that is a challenging thing to do when the hauler does the billing, because the city then is not able to, kind of adjust those rates. The hauler, of course, wants to remain whole, but what we ended up negotiating in the contract was that the city would take the disposal rate, which is a portion of the trash collection that goes directly to basically the county for disposing of the material at the Recycling and Energy Center in Newport. So we took that portion of the rate and we were able to adjust that, ensuring that Republic Services remained whole on the collection. And then we were able to adjust that. It's going to take us longer to get to our goal of having 50% variation between each cart. But nonetheless, each year now we'll look at that. And last year was the first year that we did that and negotiated those rates with Republic Services. In the report, it outlines a lot of data. Republic Services, as well as tennis, they give us monthly reports, and then they combine those reports for this annual report. And what you see here is kind of a snapshot of some of the data. You can see the tonnages, and this kind of is the telling story of residents being home. You can see the increase in the tonnages from 2019 to that 2020 date, as well as an increase in bulky items. Yard waste, there was a decrease. Let's see what else is interesting to see. We are seeing a few more townhomes and manufactured homes opting into the city's trash program. You may recall that when we first organized trash hauling, the townhomes and manufactured homes, since they already had, contractual service through one hauler, we did not include, the city did not include them in the overall contract, but they are, according to the contract, able to opt in, at the same rate that single family homes are paying. So we're seeing an increase in that. Permanent exemptions, this was interesting. I think we saw the biggest kind of permanent exemptions requests when we first organized trash hauling, and some people didn't like the idea of having an ordinance system. So our ordinance and contract allows residents to opt out if they have an environmentally responsible way of dealing with their trash. They could have a licensed hauler picking up trash from their business. They could self-haul, or they could share a cart, which we saw with, maybe as an example, an elderly person living alone who had minimal trash, and her neighbors were allowing her to share their cart. And so that's another way that residents can prove that they're dealing with their trash responsibly. So we saw a reduction in that now, from the beginning of when we organized trash. So you see that, I don't know, more people are accepting of our program. Maybe that's what I'm saying here. Yard waste or walk-up service, that's something that we offer for both trash and recycling. If residents have physical limitations, they can get their trash and recycling collected from the garage. So all they have to do is put it out in front of their garage, and the hauler will walk up, bring it down to the curb, tip it, and then walk it back. And I think we saw an increase here. Again, maybe more people home. And yard waste accounts are increasing, but we did see that yard waste down last year.
And then finally, oops, I apologize, I did not update the date here. This should be the 2021 trash and yard waste work plan. And again, it's a draft I put together based on some things that I think you could look at for improvement. Number one being a trash warranty report. I did indicate that our carts are warranted for 10 years, and Republic Services manages the carts. So they get information from residents, that the cart is in disrepair, and they'll go out and they can repair minor things like replace a tire, things like that. But if it's a major repair, they'll bring it back to the shop and they'll report that to the manufacturer. And then the manufacturer is keeping count of those credits to the city. And again, this is kind of falls in line with maybe we didn't pay much attention to the warranties and the sustainable cart management in the past. But I think there's a gap here where I'd like to see, more reporting on what credits the city has, so that when we're prepared to purchase carts, we know, we're going to get this much credit back. So more of a system for that. Then here I misspelled something. Boy, what was I trying to say here? Oh, yard, not TARD. Yard waste subscription outreach, which we did a little of this in our April Maplewood Living. We identified different ways that people can deal with yard waste, one of those being the subscription opportunity with Republic Services, and residents with trash service with Republic Services in Maplewood can subscribe to the yearly yard waste collection. It's once a week collection in that 95-gallon cart, plus the 5 compostable bags on the side that's collected once a week from April 1st to the end of November. And currently that yearly rate is $124 and some cents. So we like to advertise that, and we are seeing slowly but surely an increase in that subscription. Spring cleanup coverage, and I'll give you an update on that spring cleanup later in staff report, but we did have that event this weekend, and Republic Services for the first time assisted the city of Maplewood as the main contractor during that event. So that is part now of our new contract where Republic Services will cover that with no fee to the city unless there's a certain amount of tonnages. But at any rate, this was the first year that they covered that, and it went well with their coverage. Spring cleanup, on the other hand, I have some news on that one. That was a little challenging, but it was highly attended, let me just say that. City facilities assessments and improvements, and the one thing here I'd like to see, this is the first contract where Republic Services is collecting trash and organics as part of the overall contract, so the city is not being charged for that. So this is a great benefit to the city and its residents. But the organics piece, I think maybe more of an assessment of, like right now, we're not collecting organics in our fire station. So maybe looking at some of those types of improvements. Billing change report. I'm not sure this is possible, but ever since we started our trash program, the contract began in October. And so the billing was October, November, December, January, so on. And that's carried over all these years. And so now you have a change in rates that begins January 1st, but your billing is December, January. So you have the last year's rate and this year's rate, because Republic Services does the billing bi-monthly. It just always causes confusion. So I am wondering if Republic Services could at least research the feasibility of switching the city of Maplewood billing cycle to January, February, March, April, and so on. Townhome and manufactured home opt-in outreach. I went over this briefly, but they can opt into the city's trash program. And, you know, there's about 1,000 more households that we could capture in our trash program. We do outreach, number one, by that solid waste guide. This, I think, was the first year we sent to all the manufactured homes and townhomes. Of course, they have a recycling through our program, but they don't have trash. But we made sure that we sent to those so they know, they saw the prices. Net Promoter Score report and customer service improvements. This is something I hope that Beverly can touch on, but as part of the new contract and Republic Services requirements to report to the city, we wanted to see how they're doing with customer service. Republic Service has a kind of a decentralized customer service system where residents of Maplewood are, you know, you're not sure who you're calling, where this person might be. So sometimes that can cause confusion, but to ensure improvements, we want to see these net promoter scores. So we're looking for some reports on that, as this would be the first year that we required that type of documentation. I've talked way too much, so I'm just going to stop and I will open it up to your questions and also introduce Beverly
Matisse.
Thank you. Silent H. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sean. I like that picture at the end. That's my driver. I see him in my neighborhood. He's great. I don't know his name, but he's great. So I guess maybe Beverly, if you had any comments that you wanted to share with us, let's maybe start with that, and then we'll see if the commission has any questions for you.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say I am very excited to be part of your group and to be able to join you this evening. I've had the privilege of working with Sean now for 3 to 4 weeks. And so she has really helped me get all over this and kind of get up to date with, with your contract and the contracted services. So super excited to be here. I know that Sean had mentioned as she was going through the plan that she had hoped I'd touch on Net Promoter. So if you'd like me to just cover you and kind of give you an update and an overview on that, I certainly would be happy to start there.
Sounds good. Please do.
Okay, great. So our Net Promoter score is really it's a survey that is done, and it's really a relationship survey. It allows us to best understand how do our customers feel about their customer experience. And so I pulled some data from fourth quarter of 2020. And out of the Invergrove division, which serves Maplewood, there were 51, there were actually 50 surveys completed. The top score would be a 10 on a survey. And that 10 would say, what is the likelihood that you would recommend Republic Services as your provider? And even though this is a city contract and they don't really have a choice, it's still a good indication for us to understand. Are you really excited, or where are areas of opportunity for us at Republic? And so with that, when I pulled the data from that report, what I learned is that we had, let me get this in front of me. Of that, we had 50 surveys that were completed, and 28 of those residents rated us a 10 or a 9, meaning they were highly satisfied with their service or interaction with customer service. And then also, we look at detractors. Detractors are very important and give us a lot of really great information. A detractor would be someone who would give us a rating of 6 or less. Now, as I further dove into that data, what I learned is for those who rated us 6 or less, the common responses were comments such as, service is good, but your price is too high. I don't provide recommendations. Or my container lid was left open. Or the container was not in the current location. And so the way we address these concerns with our detractors is that we give them a call. We at Republic have 48 hours to reach the resident and have a conversation. And of course, as part of that survey, we do ask if they would allow us to give them a call. Some of the folks in their responses will say, please feel free to call me. So we follow up on those and we report those back to corporate. And so we resolve them very quickly if there is a complaint, and really take the time to share this with our drivers as well if it's an operational complaint, such as my lid was left open or my cart wasn't put in the correct location. So we can have those conversations, remind our drivers, and do extra coaching and training. And so it's real important that all of you know that we take these surveys very seriously. And we do, like I said, we get back to them in 48 hours to get those resolved. I would note that we had a 14-point improvement year over year here, which is quite impressive. And COVID, I will say, COVID has been a bit of a game changer for those of us collecting trash, just as it has in many industries. We have more eyes. People are very, very, very aware now of what time we pick up, and they're watching there's just more eyes, and so we're hearing more from residents there. So it's been a little bit different. We've seen increases in volumes, and it really gives us, the opportunity to view our service as a whole. So the feedback really has been good. And so with that, I would open up for questions, and I will answer everything to my best of my ability. And if I don't know the answer, I certainly will get it for you.
Sounds fair. 3 to 4 weeks to learn everything. That's a pretty quick learning curve. So we understand if maybe there's some things that need to be followed up on.
Sure,
Thanks for the information on the net promoter stuff and kind of how that process goes. Commissioners, any questions on either the report or the work plan? Doesn't sound like we've got any questions. I don't know that I had anything. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about how the spring cleanup went. Sounds like we'll learn more about that later. So that was the first year going through that. As I said to Angela with tennis, I was curious to see what we would see, in a COVID year. So not surprising that we saw an increase with more people at home, generating more trash. So an increase in the tonnage there. I don't know. I didn't have any surprises or anything that really stood out for me that I had questions or concerns on. It doesn't sound like we've got any from the rest of the commission either. Nope. Now I see Commissioner Miller. She's got something here.
Sorry, I had to postpone because my dog had to tell me about all the turkeys in the backyard. Very noisy sometimes. I just wanted to also extend the safe driving reactions from my neighbors because trash and recycling comes on the same day here. And it's just been a lot safer. So I did want to thank you for that. And also, if you are going to kind of partner up with Sean and Angela for possibly talking about the yard waste educational bit for the recycling bins, that would be really great. Is that something that you can partner up with them with?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And thank you also for the safety message. At Republic Services, our number one priority is safety. It's a part of our everyday conversations before our drivers leave the yard, and even for those of us who work in the offices. And so it's something we take seriously. And again, if ever there is a safety concern or suggestion, please be sure to reach out to me.
One comment that I will put in there just as sort of an emphasis, the pay as you throw. That's been something that's been really important to this commission over the years. Sean was kind of explaining the history, behind this as far as kind of the organized trash hauling, and there were a lot of initial fires that needed to be put out, certainly. But this, I think, was always in the back of people's minds of the more that you throw, it makes sense that the more that would cost, and encourage people to reduce their overall waste. And so that's something that, the second time around that we're looking at these contracts, we wanted to make sure to put in there, but we know it's difficult too. So it sounds like there's the goal of 50% cost variance between the smallest container and the largest is something that we were looking at phasing in over time. So I just want to make sure that we're continuing to have that as a priority as we go forward through the years of this contract and beyond, hopefully too. So that was it for me. If there's no other comments or questions from the commission, we are looking for a motion on this as well to move this forward. So looking for a motion for both the the trash and yard waste report and work plan to move forward. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Buttleman.
Yeah.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Tozer.
Yeah.
Got her. Excellent. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All good. So eyes all. So that will move forward to City Council as well. Beverly, very good to meet you. We'll be looking forward to seeing you again.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you, Sean.
Take care.
Alrighty, then looking at our agenda, that takes us to item number 6, unfinished business. We don't have anything listed there. Number 7 is visitor presentations. Does not look like we have any visitors this evening. 8 is commissioner presentations. I didn't add this at the very start, but just to pass along just a brief comment. Last Monday, I attended the city council meeting and presented some information about our 2020 report, kind of what we had gone through over that year. Both the mayor and council members were, they didn't have any questions for us, but just expressed their support and thanks and appreciation for the work that we do, as well as all the other commissions. They really underscored how much they rely on our kind of working through these issues and providing recommendations to them so that when they get the things that we've moved forward to the council, they know that it's, comes with our, I don't know, professional recommendation, but well educated, well thought out recommendation so that they feel like they can kind of make a good decision from there. So just wanted to briefly pass on their thanks and appreciation for the work that we have done and then are going to continue to do as well. So and that was all that I needed to say about that. Sorry I didn't add that at the beginning, but that brings us to number 9 on our agenda items, staff presentations.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. First, I wanted to update you on the climate adaptation plan. So the steering committee had its final workshop a week or 2 weeks ago. We reviewed the comments received during the public workshop that we held, and we looked at the survey results. Of course, Ted Redmond of Pale Blue Dot was helping us with the climate adaptation plan as part of a grant from the MPCA. And now the plan will be updated based on our steering committee comments. And we will bring this to the city council during a workshop on May 10th. So that'll be the final step in adoption of the plan. And I did want to thank Commissioner Redmond. It was a huge undertaking. Of course, he assisted with 3 other cities with the plan, with their plans as well. And, we took this on, we started last January. And we had just a big turnout with our steering committee. We had members from, Ramsey County Emergency Management, XL Energy, and everyone showed up, and we were all excited. And then COVID, and many of these people got pulled away in their regular jobs to deal with a lot of the COVID emergencies. So, but we championed on, and we were able to get public comment and feedback during all this. So really, my compliments to Ted and his team. So we'll send you that updated draft when it goes to the council on May 10th. Did you want to add anything, Commissioner Redmond?
Actually, just to take the thank you and turn it around to the entire team. I mean, there was, a team of 20 folks that put in just a ton of time over the last 12 months. So that's really the group that did the work. We just we curated. So really it's the planning team that deserves all the appreciation, which was a very robust effort. So we're grateful to be able to work with them. So thank you.
So of course, the plan has implementation strategies that the city as partners can take to prepare ourselves for our changing climate. So this will be a very beneficial document as we move forward. And of course, the next step we hope to see the city starting to look at would be a climate mitigation plan. So that's next on our list. Next, I'd like to update you on the Maplewood Spring Cleanup. we held that event this Saturday, April 17th at Aldrich Arena. And it's the first cleanup that we've had. Of course, last year we canceled due to COVID. But that would have been the first year that we worked with Republic Services as the main contractor. But this year then was the first. And we had a record-breaking turnout. There was just a huge line of residents in their vehicles, and the loads were giant, just trailers full of who knows what was in the back of those trailers. But it was so well received that, unfortunately, the disappointment was that at about 12:45, we had to really just cut off the line. And I would say approximately 150 to 200 vehicles were sent away with their full loads. And it was so disappointing. But the city was just, and our partners were overwhelmed with material. I knew it was going to be busy, but we just had no idea to what degree. And we were able to get 389 vehicles for the event, which is actually average. But we don't have all the tonnages yet. But I think that'll be the telling point is once we get, the electronics, the appliances that were collected during the event. It was just so much material that it really slowed things down, and it just took so much to unload and put in the right location. And we had a couple other challenges, Aldrich Arena, they added the rain gardens, which wonderful and beautiful. And of course, it's going to benefit stormwater management there. But, it created some pinch points for our wide open space there that we used to have. And this is the first year that the city of Maplewood was actually collecting the money. In the past, we had a contractor collect the money. So we had a new system there. Just a few challenges, but I think overall what we're seeing is the residents, cleaning their garages over the last year and just the massive amounts of material from being home. The kind of streamlined pricing the city had, it was really good rate. It was per vehicle, $10 for a car. You could fit 20 TVs in your car and just pay $10. So we were trying to offer the residents a really good deal because this is the first year that the city didn't have to pay our main contractor for that. But it kind of backfired on the city in that we had all this material. And then finally, it was a really nice day. So people came out in droves. But overall, a success, and we'll work with those residents that were turned away to come up with some strategies to help them recycle and dispose of the materials they still have.
So you did get information on the vehicles that were turned away, like who those people are
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm certainly getting a lot of calls, but no, I don't know all of that.
So I was gonna say that seems like that would have been a logistical challenge, but is there talk? I know it's not in our contract. Like we have the spring cleanup and the fall cleanup is different, where it's through the month of October that it's picked up at the curbside, but that's a cost per item versus cost per vehicle. Is there any discussion on trying to have a second one, or have something in the fall to kind of match the idea of the spring cleanup? Seems difficult to do with the contract that we've got, but just curious.
Right, the contract with Republic, they're required to do one cleanup a year. So, I suppose the city could fund that, but it, I must say, is an awful lot of work. It's, months of planning and working with all the vendors. And there were about 30 staff members out there, helping the operation, the police department. And it was actually the fire department that took in the money this year. And that event really took me out. I mean it was so much work, but nonetheless, we still want to offer some sort of opportunity for those who missed out. And maybe that's hosting something like a shredding only event, because that was one area that we kind of saw some issues. Last year, 2 years ago, we were able to have a shredding only lane, but because of these pinch points that were created, we just couldn't. So we saw the shredding rates go down because people couldn't get in just to do their shredding, because there were these giant trailers full of appliances and all this. So last fall, when we had canceled the spring cleanup for 2020, I was able to coordinate a shredding only event, and those are pretty easy to coordinate. You know, you just hire one vendor, and then we had a big turnout there. We collected 12,000 pounds of shredding material at the shredding only event, compared to 3,000 pounds. There are some tonnages that I received today, so I know we collected only 3,000 tons of shredding material during the cleanup on Saturday. So we'll look for areas to assist the residents, but holding a whole other cleanup event.
Like, do you in?
I don't like that idea.
Fair enough. I just was curious if, what was thrown out there as far as ideas.
Yeah.
I know in the past that, our commission has helped, volunteer at the event. Sounds like it was a lot of city staff this year. Is that sort of by just efficiency and being able to assign folks? I guess maybe what I'm saying is if you asked us to volunteer for it, I missed it completely. So I apologize for that if you asked our commission for help and then we let you.
I guess I didn't do a very good job asking for assistance. I did announce the cleanup coming up. And again, it kind of had to do with our procedural changes, where in the past we would have this big line of residents, and the volunteers, which were mainly environmental commissioners and city council, would be like greeters, and they would say, "Welcome to the cleanup," and take the address, and then you'd offer goodie bags, things like that. It was kind of a way for everyone to meet their neighbor, because they're driving right by you. But this year we had like this invoicing and then this payment, and then the area where the council or the ENR would have like been greeters. We tried to do that, but it was just so busy that we had stuffed our police department, actually, as part of their community outreach. They offered to stuff these Ramsey recycling bags with all these little goodies we had from Ramsey County. Ramsey County recycles pop socket. Who doesn't want that? And all this other stuff that was in this bag. And they stuffed 200 of them. And then after the event, and I look over, I'm exhausted, and there's still a huge box of them. And I think what probably happened was, we were just so consumed with all these people coming in that there's no time for this chit chat. So I apologize if I did miss, because boy, your assistance sure would have been helpful, but it probably wouldn't have been greeting. You would have probably been out there directing traffic or something. It was all hands on deck this year.
Well, next year, figure out a way to use us. We'll be there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I have 2 more updates for you, and I have some handouts here, just little flyers I wanted to share with you. These are fun and colorful, but I have to find them. Excuse me. Here we are. Now I have to make that screen, and there we go. I wanted to announce our Park and Recreation Department and Commission. They are hosting what they're calling Maplewood Earth Week Cleanup. Yearly, what they would do would be to invite groups and residents to come and assist in a all-park cleanup. and they would have, they'd offer like a luncheon after the cleanup. And it was a great way for, groups like Girl Scout groups to maybe volunteer to do one park or something like that. But due to COVID, they're just kind of opening it up to people who are interested in helping the Maplewood parks and open spaces, encouraging people to go flocking. I'm sure you've heard this term. Picking up litter while walking during Earth Week. And of course, Earth Day is Thursday, April 22nd this year. So if you're interested in doing that, please contact our Parks and Recreation Department. Their phone number is here at 651-249-2111. Another cleanup opportunity, because that's what you do on Earth Week. Plus, of course, this is the sort of thing that you do in the spring when everything's not in full bloom and you can get to all that trash that's been hiding under the snow all winter. But you're familiar with our Rice Larpenteur corridor. The city of Maplewood, of course, has been partnering with Roseville, St. Paul, and Ramsey County on seeing the vision of a more walkable, livable improvements on the Rice Street, Larpenteur Avenue corridor. And the Alliance, for the second year, they're doing a lot of events and making, visual presence out there. And so here's something that they'll be doing on April 24th, which is this Saturday, to go out in that neighborhood and help clean up. And we're looking for volunteers to meet at Caribou Coffee on the Maplewood side, 1720 Rice Street. And that goes from 9 until noon. So you can find out more information on that website, www.riceandlarpenteur.com. And then finally, I wanted to update you on the annual Waterfest event. Of course, Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District puts on this event yearly. They have done so for many years. It's a celebration of our clean lakes. And the Environmental Commission has had a booth and done education at this event over several years. Last year it was canceled due to COVID-19 pandemic. And this year they've come up with a creative way, because of course you still have those concerns with large crowds. So they are putting on this self-directed learning opportunities, is what they're calling it. And that'll be for an entire week, June 19th through June 27th. But there are opportunities for us to be involved or to volunteer. So maybe I'll get more detail on that, and we can decide if that's something that we as a commission want to sponsor, some educational component. Maybe it's something to do with our recycling and trash program. Maybe it's something to do with our climate adaptation. So I think this is a great opportunity to showcase and do some environmental education. So I'm just going to stop there and see, maybe you have a few ideas right now. Otherwise, I can follow up in an email.
Commissioner Miller?
I know that this is something that we've done for other things, but I wondered if maybe a relay. Remember the game that they have in those bins, those trunks? Is it trash or recycling? You have to go and pick it up and put it in the right one.
That might be kind of fun, because that would be much more active than sitting and trying to talk to people when we're yelling and screaming and stuff. But that might help. And have a yard waste thing in there too.
Those recycling relays are so much fun. I'll have to do a little bit more research on what they mean by self-directed. Of course, you're attempting not to have a big crowd next to each other. So sure. Maybe if it's a group of people that are all together, they could participate in that on their own.
Is it intended to be booths that aren't staffed? or like that's truly just a display to read?
I really should have read more on this. I'm sorry, I wasn't quite prepared to answer all your questions. So when they say self-directed, and it is for a week, so it's not like we're all going to be there for a week, right?
Right.
So I'm going to have to get more detail and bring that back to you.
I wonder if it would be kind of a cool thing that, like, if people would take a picture with themselves putting trash in the trash and recycle in the recycle and send in the picture to us, then we could do like a drawing or something, or they could get like one of those free bags with the information.
Kind of a get caught recycling.
Yeah,
selfie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could kind of feed into the residuals education piece that we were talking about earlier. Definitely could do something with a display. I mean, like certainly the active thing, if that's a possibility, but if it's meant to be just something that we put up and it stays there for the entire time. But it would be nice to make it interactive in some way instead of just walk by and then, it's more forgettable if that's all it is.
Yeah.
We do some sort of a scavenger hunt around town or something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
About what, I don't know, but
Garbage and
something
recycling.
fun. Yeah.
I love that idea.
It would be really cool if you did that, and then like if they took pictures of doing that, or with your card or whatever, and then have like a little mural with everybody's picture who sent it in.
Or you do like a bingo card or something like that too, or yeah.
I was looking at the link here. They have a link to volunteer. So they want you to volunteer for. Well, I love the ideas. Keep them coming. And since that's in June, we don't want to wait too long. So I'll follow up with an email to all commissioners on this opportunity, and we can kind of do some brainstorming back and forth, and then bring those ideas to our main meeting. But could I get an indication? I think we should do this, don't you? We should participate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will register us as participating, and of course, the city of Maplewood, we have sponsored this event over many years, and we will continue to do so. So we'll be a sponsor, and then we'll have our environmental commission assisting with something. We're going to put our creative environmental brains to work, come up with a fun idea. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that takes us to number 10 on our agenda, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
It's been
I'll
motioned by
second.
Commissioner Doser and seconded by Commissioner Redmond. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think that's everybody. It's always a trick when you're muted for part of the time to try to get that I vote in there, but I assume that we're all good to go. So it's 8:29 and we're adjourning tonight's meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.